On the morning of July 7th, 2005, everything the UK thought it knew about the threat of terrorism changed. It wasn't an external enemy anymore. The threat was already inside. So, let's get right into it. 4 bombs set off by 4 British citizens right in the middle of London's morning rush hour. The human cost was just devastating. 52 people killed, hundreds more injured. And the shock wasn't just the attack itself, but the chilling fact that the attackers were from right here at home. In the aftermath, this was the question on everyone's mind. It's the one that drove multiple, incredibly detailed official inquiries. Was this a massive intelligence failure? Did the security system just break down? We're going to walk through what those official reports found to really understand what went wrong and, just as importantly, what changed because of it. All right, first things first. Let's just lay out the hard facts of what actually happened that day according to the official record. Now, what's really fascinating here is how the attack was put together. You see, this wasn't some sophisticated, state-sponsored operation. The bombs were homemade, literally cooked up from materials you could just go out and buy. And that's a crucial point, because it shows how accessible this kind of terror had become. Even more chilling, the official reports are clear. There was zero intelligence warning about this specific plot. As far as the security services were concerned, it came completely out of the blue. But here's the thing, out of the blue isn't exactly the whole story. When the inquiry started digging into what the security services knew before that day, some pretty uncomfortable facts came to light. And this is a really critical piece of the puzzle. 2 of the bombers, Mohammed Siddiqui Khan and Shahzad Tanweer, were not total unknowns. They had actually popped up on the radar back in 2004, spotted during surveillance of other known extremists. But at the time, they were just faces in the crowd, figures on the edge of a much bigger investigation. This quote from the official report really gets to the heart of the problem they were facing. It was a numbers game. In 2005, the security service was trying to keep tabs on about 800 high-priority targets, and they only had so many resources. Khan and Tanweer, they were seen as small fish, peripheral to what seemed like much bigger, more immediate threats. There was simply no intelligence to suggest they were planning their own attack in the UK, so the focus stayed elsewhere. And here, you can just see the huge gap between perception and reality. On one side, the official assessment. These guys are minor players, low priority. And on the other, the horrible truth. This really highlights the impossible challenge of intelligence work. It's like trying to put together a puzzle with thousands of pieces, but you don't have the picture on the box to guide you. Okay, get this, because it's going to sound unbelievable now. Just a few weeks before the bombings, the official threat level in the UK was actually lowered. And the crazy part is, based on the intel they had, it made sense. They'd successfully stopped other major plots, and there was no new credible information pointing to another imminent attack. The system was working, but it could only see what was right in front of it. The problem, as we now know, was everything it couldn't see. But the problems didn't stop with intelligence, not by a long shot. The moment those bombs went off deep in the London Underground, a whole different kind of crisis began. The very systems that were supposed to save lives, they started to crumble. The later inquiries painted this picture of just absolute chaos. Imagine the special airwave radios for the emergency services. They barely worked down in the tunnels. Police, fire, and ambulance crews showed up, but they had no prearranged place to meet up and coordinate. Rescuers were scared to go onto the tracks because no one could give them a clear answer on whether the deadly high-voltage power was turned off. And get this, the police computer system couldn't talk to the ambulance system. It was just one failure compounding another, under the worst pressure imaginable. So what happens after a tragedy like this? Well, it forces a reckoning. Britain's entire approach to security and emergency response was essentially taken apart piece by piece and completely rebuilt from the ground up to fix every single one of those failures. Now, this is a really important point. The goal of these big inquests, called the coroner's inquests, wasn't about pointing fingers or blaming people. It was all about looking forward. The whole idea was to create a practical, no-nonsense playbook to make sure this kind of chaos couldn't happen again. It was about saving lives in the future. So how'd they fix it? Well, on the intelligence side, they brought in new IT systems to make sure that decisions about who to investigate and why were properly recorded and reviewed. And to fix the coordination mess, they started doing these huge national training exercises, forcing all the different emergency services to work together.
They even made a simple aid memoir, basically a cheat sheet, so that a fire commander would instantly know what the police and paramedics were supposed to be doing. Simple, but effective.
And the changes were not just on paper. We're talking about real, concrete stuff. A 40 million pound upgrade to the radio network for the underground. New simple rules for setting up a single meeting point. They put huge caches of medical supplies in transport hubs. And they created brand new teams. Hazardous Area Response Teams, or HARTs. Paramedics who are specially trained and equipped to go right into the danger zone. And you have to remember, this didn't happen overnight. This was a slow, painstaking 7-year process of investigation, making recommendations, and then actually putting those changes into practice. And they had a hard deadline, the 2012 London Olympics. The whole world was going to be watching, and the city's new, rebuilt security system had to be ready for its test. And what's really amazing when you look back is that this entire massive nationwide overhaul was all driven by just 9 specific recommendations that came out of the coroner's report. 9. They were super targeted, based on hard evidence, and designed to fix the most critical weak spots. Now, this chart is fascinating. You'd probably think it was all about fixing the intelligence failures, right? But look at this. The vast majority, we're talking nearly 80% of the official recommendations were focused on fixing the response on the ground. That's where the inquiries found the most direct, solvable problems that could save the most lives the next time something awful happened. So what's the big takeaway here? The legacy of 7/7 is a UK security system that is without a doubt stronger, smarter, and more prepared than it was in 2005. The hard lessons were definitely learned. But it leaves us with one last really important question. That new playbook was written to fight the last war. And as threats constantly change and evolve, the real challenge is making sure that playbook doesn't become a history book.